The year 1600 marked the beginning of a new era in musical history, for in that year the first public performance of regular opera took place in Florence. It was given in honor of the wedding of Marie de' Medici and Henry IV of France. The growth and popularity of the opera led not only to the cultivation of the human voice, wherein music exerts its greatest power of fascination, but have brought forward hundreds of competitors for the artistic laurels which are the reward of those who reach the highest state of musical perfection. For nearly a century opera was confined to the continent of Europe, but in 1691 Margherita de Lépine, a native of Tuscany, appeared in London. She was remarkable for her plainness of speech and of features, her rough manners and swarthy appearance, and she must indeed have been possessed of a fine voice to have been able to retain her hold on public favour. In 1692, she announced her last appearance, but it was so successful that she kept on giving last appearances and did not leave England for several years, thus inaugurating a custom which is observed to the present day. Contemporary with her was Catherine Tofts, an English woman. She was a very beautiful woman with an exquisitely clear, sweet voice. Her career was short, for, after having achieved a tremendous success in one of her parts, she became demented, and, though eventually cured, she never returned to the stage. There was a lively rivalry between the two singers, which furnished gossip for the town. Anastasia Robinson, mild and pleasing in manners, with great sweetness of expression and large blue eyes, was engaged to sing by George Frederick Handel, who at that time was the impresario of the London Opera. Anastasia Robinson was eclipsed, after a career of 12 years, by Francesca Cuzzoni, and married the Earl of Peterborough. She left a reputation for integrity and goodness seldom enjoyed by even the highest celebrities. Cuzzoni made an immediate and immense success, and Handel took great pains to compose airs adapted to display her exquisite voice. She, in return, treated him with insolence and caprice, so that he looked about for another singer. His choice fell upon Faustina Bodoni, a Venetian lady who had risen to fame in Italy. She was elegant in figure, agreeable in manners, and had a handsome face. Cuzzoni, on the other hand, was ill-made and homely, and her temper was turbulent and obstinate. A bitter rivalry at once sprang up, Handel fanning the flame by composing for Bodoni as diligently as he had previously done for Cuzzoni. The public was soon divided, and the rivalry was carried to an absurd point. At length, the singers actually came to blows, and so fierce was the conflict that the bystanders were unable to separate them until each combatant bore substantial marks of the other's esteem. Cuzzoni was then dispensed with, and went to Vienna. She was reckless and extravagant, and was at several times imprisoned for debt, finally dying in frightful indigence after subsisting by button-making, a sad termination of a brilliant career. Bodoni led a prosperous life, married the director of the orchestra in Dresden, sang before Frederick the Great, and passed a comfortable old age. Both she and her husband died in 1783, she at the age of 83, and he at 84. In Paris there was born on February 14, 1744, the beautiful, witty, but dissipated Sophie Arnold. At the age of 12 her voice, which was remarkable for power and purity, attracted the attention of the Princess de Modena, through whose influence she was engaged to sing in the King's Chapel. In 1757 she made her first appearance in opera, when her beauty and her acting enabled her to carry everything before her. The opera was besieged whenever her name was announced, and all the gentlemen of Paris contested for the honor of throwing bouquets at her feet. At length she eloped with Count Lauraguais, a handsome, dashing young fellow, full of wit and daring. Her home resembled a little court, of which she was the reigning sovereign, and her salon was always crowded by men of the highest distinction. When Benjamin Franklin arrived in Paris, he confessed that nowhere did he find such pleasure, such wit, such brilliancy, as in the salon of Mademoiselle Arnold. She remained faithful to her husband until he bestowed on her a life pension of 2,000 crowns. While she never spared anyone in the exercise of her wit, she was occasionally the subject of ridicule herself, as, for instance, when the Abbé Goliani was asked his opinion of her singing, and replied, "It is the finest asthma I ever heard."